Rodrigo. Ravel. Rodney shouted into the phone. I'm 100% sure, Del. It's Ravel. Del, back in the studio, looked at the camera with the confidence of a man who had just been handed the keys to the Bank of England. It's Ravel, Jonathan. My brother knows. He's got the brains in the family. Are you sure, Derek? Ross asked. You don't have to take his answer. No. Rodney's spot on. Ravel. The buzzer sounded a long, agonizing drone of failure. Derek, Ross said, his voice filled with genuine pity. That was the wrong answer. It was Segovia. Del's face fell. The 100,000 pounds vanished into the ether. What? But Rodney said, he's got to GCE's. Chapter 14, The Return of the Conqueror Not. The journey back to Peckham was long and silent. Del walked through the door of the flat to find Rodney and Cassandra waiting, still dressed as a gladiator and a policewoman. What happened? Rodney asked, his voice small. What happened? Del exploded. What happened is that you're a dipstick, Rodney. That's what happened. Everyone knows that Ravel makes shoes. It was a trick question, and you fell for it. Shoes? Rodney stammered. Ravel wrote Bolero. I don't care if he wrote the Bible. He makes shoes in the Peckham High Street. You lost us 50 grand. The argument raged until the phone rang again. It was the producer of Gold Rush. Hello. Yes, this is Derek Trotter. What? No. Really. Del turned to the room, his eyes wide. There's been a mistake. The producer says it was Ravel. Segovia was just the guitarist who performed it or something. They've checked the facts. I can have the 50,000 pounds and come back on the show next week. The room erupted. Rodney cheered. Raquel cried. Even Cassandra hugged her prisoner. See, Del shouted, his voice reaching a crescendo of triumph. I knew I was right. I knew the Trotters were back. He grabbed the phone again. Yeah. Well, I tell you what we're going to do. Give all the money to charity. Yeah. And if you phone here once again, I'm going to come down there and kick your arse into shredded duck. He slammed the phone down. Del, Rodney screamed. What did you do that for? Because, Del said, a sly grin spreading across his face, that wasn't the producer. I could hear the jukebox at the Nag's Head. That was Mickey Pierce again. He sat down, exhausted but undefeated. Don't worry, Rodney. This time next year, we'll be millionaires. And in the heart of Peckham, for the 1,000th time, they almost believed him. Chapter 15, The Morning After the Morning After. The following morning, Nelson Mandela House felt like the setting of a hung-over Greek tragedy. The adrenaline of the gold rush debacle had dissipated, leaving only the cold reality of the Inland Revenue's interest rates and the lingering smell of Raquel's burnt toast. Del sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of tea that was mostly condensed milk and desperation. He was staring at a pile of bills as if he could intimidate them into paying themselves. Rodney, Dell barked as his brother shuffled into the kitchen, looking like a man who had spent the night sleeping in a tumble dryer. "Where's the inventory for the new stock?" Rodney groaned, rubbing his eyes. "Dell, it's 8 in the morning. And technically, since I'm the managing director, shouldn't I be asking you for that?" Dell let out a short, sharp laugh. "Managing director? Rodney, you're the only managing director in London who still gets an allowance from his older brother. Now, where is it?" "It's in the van." Rodney sighed. "But it's mostly those unbreakable umbrellas we bought from Boyke. I tried one this morning. It snapped the second a light breeze hit it." Dell didn't look up. "That's because you don't know the technique. Rodney, you have to open them with finesse. They're not umbrellas. They're aerodynamic sunshades. It's all in the marketing." Raquel entered, Damien trailing behind her. The boy was wearing a t-shirt that said "Future Millionaire," a gift from Dell that currently felt like a cruel joke. "Dell, we've had another letter from the council," Raquel said, her voice weary. "They're asking about the arrears again." Dell stood up, smoothing his waistcoat. "Don't you worry about the council. Sweetheart, I've got a meeting this afternoon with a very influential business associate. Top-level stuff." "Is it Trigger?" Rodney asked, deadpan. Dell paused, his hand on the door handle. "He might be in the vicinity. Yes, but that's irrelevant. We are the Trotters. We've been down before, but we always bounce back. Like those rubber balls that never stop." "They're called super balls." Dell, Rodney corrected. "And eventually, they hit someone in the eye and get confiscated." Chapter 16, The Nag's Head Resurrection. The Nag's Head was the spiritual home of the Trotter Empire, a place where legends were told and where beer was served at a temperature that could only be described as room adjacent. As Dell and Rodney walked in, a hush fell over the bar. It was the kind of silence usually reserved for a funeral or a surprise inspection by the health department. Trigger was at his usual spot, looking as if he hadn't moved since the mid-70s. Denzel was nursing a half-pint, and Sid was behind the bar, polishing a glass that looked like it had been used to store gravel. "All right, Dave," Trigger said, nodding at Rodney. "It's Rodney," Rodney sighed, for the 10,000th time. "Heard about the show, Dell," Sid said, leaning over the bar. "Me and the wife were watching. She said she liked your suit, said it made you look like a very successful magician." Dell ignored the barb. "It's all part of the game." Sid, "High stakes, high rewards. We were testing the waters, weren't we, Rodney?" "I was testing the limits of human embarrassment," Rodney muttered. "Don't listen to him," Dell said, ordering a large cognac. "He's got executive stress. Now, Denzel, I hear you've been having trouble with your suspension." Denzel looked up. Wary, how do you know that? I